Today on The Real Story, Connecticut is welcoming a new airline to our state. Avelo Airlines is operating out of Tweed, New Haven Airport. The company bringing several nonstop flights to warm getaway destinations like Florida. So how's it going so far? And what are the airline's future plans in New Haven? Avelo Airlines CEO Andrew Levy is our first guest this morning. Plus, we appear to be on the back end of the Omicron surge in our state. Connecticut's COVID cases trending down. This while the governor recommended dropping the statewide mask mandate for schools. We catch up with Dr. Saud Anwar, a pulmonologist who is also a state senator. It's all today on The Real Story. Good morning, and thanks for joining us on The Real Story. I'm Jenn Bernstein. Connecticut travelers now have a new option if you want to get away. Avelo Airlines is now operating out of its hub at Tweed, New Haven Airport. It's launched 6 nonstop flights to destinations in Florida out of New Haven, warm getaway spots including Sarasota, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, Fort Myers, Palm Beach, and Orlando. Avelo is a brand new airline. It launched its first flight in April of 2021 and serves 19 destinations across the U.S. Its initial base was at Hollywood Burbank Airport, where it still has a hub in addition to Tweed. The airline says it's committed to being affordable and convenient, and we're talking about prices that are really reasonable here. $49 to go down to Florida one way, fly a family, maybe $400, double that on regular carriers depending on the time. So what's their secret, and what's the plan for the airline in the coming years? Join me in welcoming the man at the helm of Avelo Airlines, CEO Andrew Levy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on The Real Story today. I was reading that the airline says it is America's first new scheduled airline in more than a decade. Tell us about that.
Well, first, thanks for having me.
Sure.
It's a pleasure to be here. There was a time back when I started my career in the 90s, there were lots of airlines getting started. And really that started, I think, in large measure with deregulation in 1978. There was kind of a rush to kind of just develop or deregulate an industry. And fast forward many, many years, it's actually pretty rare that you see new airlines entering the marketplace. It's become a very consolidated industry. There's about 10 names that are all pretty large airlines that all of us have heard about. They're household names. Maybe there's an exception or two. If you live in the East Coast, you may not be familiar with Alaska Airlines, but there's really very few. And so, yeah, we're the first new entrant that is a scheduled commercial airline, well-financed with, Boeing 737 aircraft. First one to come along since really Virgin America started in 2007 or thereabouts.
What was your inspiration for wanting to start this airline?
I started my career at one of those new airlines that got started in the 90s. It was such an exciting experience to be a part of and to see what it took to build a business from scratch. And from that point forward, I kind of got bit by the entrepreneurial bug. I was involved in several other early stage companies, including another airline a couple airlines ago for me, which was a company called Allegiant, which is one of the country's most successful ultra low cost airlines. They've had tremendous success. I was there for almost 14 years. And it was really that experience. It was what we did there and looking back on what we did well and what I felt we could have done better. It was partly that really inspired me wanting to do this. First of all, I think that there's a huge opportunity in the market because of the consolidation, because we've gone down to so few airlines, and about 80% of the seats in the United States are controlled by the big 3 network airlines, Delta, American, and United, and Southwest Airlines, which was once upon a time the underdog, the little guy, but 50 years later, they're now the largest domestic U.S. airline there is. And so it's a highly consolidated industry. And of course, when there's highly consolidated industries, typically you end up with prices that are higher than they really should be. And before the pandemic, we went about a decade of consistent profitability, which was enjoyed by all industry participants. And And it was, really that led me to really believe with a lot of conviction that there was room for more in the U.S. And then it was a question of which markets, how to go about it. And that was really where kind of taking a few pages out of the book we used so successfully at Allegiant, trying to make a few tweaks here and there, learning from some experience along the way. And we're trying to do something different, but better. And serve a unique need that's out there in the communities that we do serve, like Tweed and like Connecticut.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, right? Consumer choice has really got squeezed at this point. Prices are high. Flying is not what it felt like even several years ago. The seat size has shrunk. It feels like,
sure,
you as a consumer aren't a guest as much on certain airlines, and you don't have a lot of this consumer choice that you would like. So how did you end up choosing New Haven as a spot that you wanted to partner with?
Well, the whole strategy that we want to go after, again, in the vein of doing something different, because what we didn't want to do is just try to do what everybody else is doing and try to pretend that we could do it better. That to me is not really an exciting business, and it was really no interest. So I want to do something different, and what we zeroed in on was the opportunity to target secondary airports of large metro areas. And New Haven Burbank, where we started, is probably a little bit better example of that, in that it's right smack in the middle of LA County, and it's not LAX, it's not the airport that most people think about. New Haven, arguably a secondary airport of York Metro, arguably a secondary airport of the Hartford Metro. But New Haven is such an interesting opportunity because this is an airport that had been there for decades, and it was really an underutilized asset. And it took kind of the stars to align with the airport authority willing to take some risk and do something that would be a real benefit to the community there. The airport manager being willing to write a check and really, take some risk to help make the improvements necessary. And then an operator like us with someone like me who is willing to take some risk and try something different, because, different usually is it's what gets me excited. Mm-hmm. And, so far, so good. We're off to a great start. It's 100 days since we started. We have served about 70,000 customers, about 600 flights. As you noted, we're serving 6 routes to Florida. We have several more airplanes that are coming into the market in the next few months. So we'll be adding quite a few new destinations, none of which are going to be in Florida. They'll be in other parts of the United States.
Can you give us a hint of what's to come?
I'd say they're mostly East Coast and one in the Central Time Zone. But they're all short-haul markets. They all have characteristics that either have a leisure element to them, or at least there's what we think is a large enough visiting friends and relative kind of market. So, and then of course, there'll always be some business interests in going back and forth to different markets, even Florida, of course. But some of the new ones will perhaps be a little bit appealing to some of the business community there up in Connecticut. So we're excited about the opportunities we have in Tweed.
And so you've been operating here in Connecticut for 100 days. You think it's been going well so far? What are some areas that you think you all have done well, and areas that you can improve on from customer feedback at this point?
Gosh, I'll tell you, I think we've done a really good job to start. We've been highly reliable. We've been on time over 80% of our flights out there, which is, I think, a record that's quite good, especially over the past few months. Winter is always a tougher time because you do have weather-related issues, and we've obviously run into some weather-related issues as well. But I think we've done a nice job of handling that. The experience, I think, look, judging from our customer feedback we're getting, is people are just thrilled. They're thrilled about the ability to fly out of a very convenient, easy to navigate, very small airport. It's really unique. It is small, but small is beautiful. You park your car, you get through your check-in, the TSA, and next thing you know, you're at your gate and you can be on the airplane. And I've heard people say they leave their home, they stop at Dunkin' Donuts. This would be people that live nearby in like Guilford, and they're at the gate ready to get on the airplane in 20 minutes. Now, you can't do that in most bigger airports. So it is a really unique experience. And then we've done a really nice job with getting people where they need to go on time. I think we also put a big emphasis on the people that we bring on board to hire as what we call our employees. We call them crew members. And we've really put a big emphasis in making sure that we seek out and bring on board people that really are kind of people oriented and really are by their nature warm, caring, kind people. And that's been shown itself with, you can see it from just customer feedback. Again, we get a lot of compliments about the great experience they have interacting with our people. So that's another part of kind of our secret sauce. And I think it's working quite well.
Have you had any trouble with staffing shortages? We know that the airline industry in general, because of COVID, has really suffered. How are you all holding up with that?
So I'd say in general, we've held up very well in terms of what we can control, which is people that actually are working for us on our payroll. I think where we've seen some problems is some of our vendor partners in different airports that are out there kind of doing some of the work that we don't do for ourselves. So let's say different airports where we'll go and we'll have a service provider that handles taking care of our customers and bags and whatnot at those airports. Some of them have had tough times hiring or keeping people. And I've seen that more in the West Coast than in the East Coast. But in general, I think we're doing a good job there. And but look, it's a tough market. It's a tough labor market, and we're having to adjust along the way to make sure that we can offer a really competitive compensation package. But so far, so good. I will tell you that the response we've received in Tweed has been exceptional. And it's not just from customers, but just from people that are interested in coming to work with us. And we have a wonderful team of people that we've hired. We've created over 100 jobs in the community. With the 3 airplanes that will be coming in there in the next few months, we expect to double that. So, and we've had no shortage of really, really great people to choose from and bring on board as crew members.
That's really good to hear. Okay, let's talk about your pricing, because they are very competitive prices. How do you do it? Are those prices going to stay that way, or is this a kind of, I've heard people say, well, is it a promotional thing where for like 2 years they have these really low costs and then they jack up the price once people know about them?
Well, let's see. There's no question these are promotional fares because we really want to get the brand out there, and you start out with an awareness that's pretty low when you're coming into a new market. But we're a low-cost carrier, and that's a low-fare carrier. I mean, you can't charge low fares if you don't have low costs. So we try to make things as simple as we can. A lot of the same tricks that people may be familiar with from Southwest Airlines. Fly only one aircraft type, which makes things easier and simpler. You don't have to train as many differences. You have only one set of spare parts. I mean, our distribution is very simple. You have to come to our website to book our travel on us. I mean, there's a lot of things that are, there are things that make our cost structure more efficient, and we try to pass that on to customers in the form of low fares. Our business works by stimulating ridership, and we stimulate ridership. And actually, our purpose, our mission, is really to inspire travel, and we do that by keeping costs really low and offering low fares. We're not a business airline. I mean, it doesn't mean we won't carry business customers, and we'd love to welcome business customers on our airplanes, but that's not what we're geared towards. We're geared toward price-sensitive travelers who are paying with their own money. It's not on somebody else's nickel. And, because of that, we have to have low prices. So I think it's much more likely you're just going to see us add a lot more service over the next few years. If in fact we have the continued acceptance we see in the marketplace, if that continues, I think the answer there is just going to be more flights, more seats, more flights at really low fares. A $49 fare, that's a promotional fare. But I don't see us at $490. We'll be somewhere in between as time goes on. It'll be dependent on the market. If there's a market that's working and working well, we'll be more inclined to add more seats and keep the fares lower. And markets that don't work as well, we'll have to offer fewer seats and maybe try to price a little bit higher. But our business is built around low fares.
And finally, people hear that you all are a new airline, that, it's a budget carrier, and they immediately think, hopefully safety was not skimped, or skipped over while this airline was being developed. What can you tell people to give them confidence if they want to fly with you guys, but you don't have a track record of safety at this point because you're brand new? You just launched your first flights in April of 2021.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Thank you for asking the question, because it's great to be able to address it. I put my team as they're just second to none. And we actually have the bios of the people that are in charge of airline operations are on our website. Come check us out. And what you'll see there is a combined 200 plus years of experience amongst the top 6 executives who are in charge of that area, including myself. Our head of safety is he had the same position at United Airlines for 10 plus years, and before that he had the same position at Delta Airlines. Our chief operating officer was in a very senior role overseeing flight operations at Delta and Northwest before that. He worked with me at Allegiant. I could go on, but I mean, the point is we have highly, highly experienced and very, very capable people who have operated in much larger environments, as I did as well. I was at United Airlines as the chief financial officer for a few years. And so we're new as an airline, but we have people who have kind of been there, done that. And our number one core value is safety always. And there's nothing more important in this business than making sure that we take care of everything to get our customers to where they need to go safely. It's always the first. That's always, I mean, there's no skimping on safety. Never, ever, ever. So I'm glad you asked the question.
Sure.
I feel pretty good about the people. We have modern airplanes, 737s. In fact, the ones up in Tweed were most recently operated and not long ago operated by Southwest Airlines are, very nice modern airplanes. They've been very well maintained. I will tell you even one other thing. We're supported from a tech ops perspective in terms of spare parts and inventory by Delta Airlines, as well as Lufthansa Technik, which is these are two of the, when you think about the best airlines in the world in terms of engineering and maintenance, Delta and Lufthansa are number 1 and 2 in whichever order you want to put them in. So we're very well supported with all of our partners, our airplanes, our people. And I would tell customers that's one thing you don't need to worry about when you fly with us.
Good to hear. Andrew Levy, CEO of Avelo Airlines, appreciate you taking the time to come on The Real Story and talk to us about what you're hoping to do here in Connecticut and about the airlines in general. A great discussion. Appreciate it. Congratulations on 100 days of operation here in our state.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, still to come on The Real Story. Good news on the COVID-19 front. Connecticut seeing its COVID numbers decline. Governor Lamont also recommending the statewide mask mandate in schools come to an end. Is it too soon or the right time? Dr. Saud Anwar, a lung doctor as well as a state senator, will join us. His view from his seat in the legislature and from the front lines in the hospital. That's next.